Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the week 13 video lecture for academic writing. This is week 13, which means it is our second week for editing. Hopefully, last week you exchanged your rough drafts and really took a good look at each other's thesis, the structure of your arguments, and the evidence that you supplied to build those arguments, because for every good essay, there has to be good ideas and good organization to really strengthen them. But we do have one more week for peer editing, so I suggest that you use this week to really focus on polishing that rough draft into a final draft. And to do that correctly, we really need to pay attention to some finer things, and that would be formatting. So I've included the notes this week. There are 4 pages here. One page that really just kind of goes through a list of how to format this essay. And then, of course, you have a sample here of what the first page of your essay should look like, just to give you a better idea of the format. And when I say format, I mean the way that your writing looks on a page. All right, so that's what we want to accomplish this week. But as always, keep in mind your overall objective here, right? Your term essay is a persuasive academic essay, all right? And it must be minimum 5 paragraphs. It must be between 750 and 1,000 words. Those are the basic requirements of this assignment, so make sure those are covered fundamentally. But when you are preparing to submit your final draft, which will come in next week, in week 14, make sure you pay close attention to these finer, smaller details. All right. Now, I understand formatting might be very frustrating, annoying for you, because it is a lot of little stuff. But that little stuff is still important. All right, it's important fundamentally because it will affect your grade. If you don't follow these directions properly, you will lose points. Okay, and learning how to follow directions is very important when you submit your academic work for that reason. Now, I understand this is really frustrating because there are so many different formats out there, all right? And each culture, there are people from various cultures out there. You have your own conventions, the regular way of doing things. That's different from culture to culture. It's different from one field of study to another, all right? So for this, I'm just going to ask you to follow my format, or at least follow these checkpoints mostly, all right? But as a warning, whatever writing you do in the future, make sure that you are well aware of the format that you should follow. And if you're ever in doubt, make sure that you ask professors or instructors, or if you're publishing with, let's say, some sort of academic journal, make sure you have a style guide to follow, all right? So again, it is kind of annoying, frustrating little things, but when it comes to writing, it is important to follow this, not only because I don't want you to get a lesser grade than you think you deserve, but it does have a certain influence on the reader. All right, now there's that direct influence of your grade and how I will see that if you don't follow these directions. But think about it on a larger scale, a more important scale. In developing your ethos, getting a reader to trust you as a writer means you have to demonstrate knowledge and care in your writing. So if you don't follow simple basic directions in formatting and it's full of little mistakes, then that could negatively affect kind of the ethos appeal that you might have with your reader. So I am your reader when you submit your final draft. Make sure you don't create that negative impression and follow these simple rules. All right, so like I said, for the formatting here, make sure you follow these rules fairly accurately. And then just as an example of how it should look, your first page, there is this example here. All right, so as the note says for how your finished term essay should look, right, the final draft must be formatted correctly as it does influence your grade. A final draft should be as close to perfect as you can make it. You want to try and eliminate as many mistakes of content, form, and format as you can. And the goal is obviously to make a good impression on the person who reads it. So as I said already, don't forget the large objectives here too, right? Make sure your writing is a persuasive academic essay between 750 and 1,000 words. When it comes to font, all right, font is how the words look, the kind of character style that you're using, right? Everything that I've given you in the notes has been Times New Roman font. It is available in all word processors, and it's one of the most common fonts you will see for this kind of writing, academic writing, when you submit to in your classes. All right, and the font size, how big the characters are, the ABCs, that must be between 12 and 14 point. So Times New Roman, between 12 and 14 point. Also, the next point you see on your first page, make sure you have your name, student number, the instructor, the assignment, the date of submission, and the word count. How many words are in the document? All right, remember, it must be between 750 and 1,000. If you have over 1,000, you will be penalized. If you have under 750, you will be penalized. Okay, you have a 250 word margin here, and that's actually fairly flexible. Most essays are, plus minus 10%. Okay, so make sure top of the page looks like that. When it comes to titles, make sure you include a title. All essays must have titles. This is an academic essay, so you have to use a descriptive title, not a suggestive title. Okay. Descriptive means it describes fairly straightforwardly what is in your essay. Okay, do not use a suggestive title for an academic essay. Okay, suggestive means you are kind of suggesting. In this case, you're really kind of teasing, or in some cases exaggerating. But a suggestive title is something that's more likely you'll see in a tabloid or a magazine headline, or more commonly these days, if you're looking through social media or online. Okay, a lot of media will use very exaggerated language to get your attention and make you interested in reading that article or even watching that video. Okay, and that's another word for that is clickbait. Okay, on social media, they want to get your attention, so you click on it, and that media corporation makes money. Right? That is a suggestive title. That is, its main purpose is to get your attention, and that should not be used for an academic essay. All right, a descriptive title, again, just straightforwardly describes the topic of your essay. Okay, so make sure you use that. Also, make sure you capitalize correctly. All right, that means the big letters, capital letters, for the first letter of every content word or larger word in the title. And always the first letter of the first word and the first letter of the last word. They are always capitalized. Okay, the ones that are lowercase or smaller letters, those would be prepositions and articles. All right, you do not need to capitalize them unless they are the first word or the last word, or if you have a preposition that is longer than 5 letters or longer, excuse me. All right, so if you have a preposition to in the middle of your title, you do not capitalize the T. But if that T is at the beginning of your title, you would capitalize it, right? Or if you have a preposition like around, which is 5 letters long, the A in around would be capitalized, okay? Also, make sure your title is centered, all right, in the middle of that line. Do not make the title bigger. Do not underline the title. Do not put these things, those brackets, at the end of your title. Do not use italics on your title. Okay, just write it the same way as you write the body. Times New Roman font, same font size as the body, same font type, no bold, no underline, no italics. Okay, and make sure it is centered. Also, you do not need to include extra space between your title and then where the body starts. Okay, that's not necessary. Also, when it comes to the next point here, we are going to use indented paragraphs to write or to format this assignment. Right, so that means here, if you look, the first line of the first paragraph, and each paragraph has a space from the margin to when the writing begins. Okay, just like here as well. So first paragraph, second paragraph. That indentation is a visual marker so the reader easily knows where each paragraph begins. Okay, makes it easier to read and understand. That's an indented paragraph. There are other formats that you might see where there, instead of an indentation, there might be a whole white space here. Okay, that would be a block paragraph. We are not using block paragraphs in this assignment. We are using just indented paragraphs. So no blocking, just indentation. So make sure to automatically format that in your word processor. Hit the Tab key, T-A-B, all right, on the top left of your keyboard. All right, that will give you an automatic space about that much, and then you begin writing the first line of your paragraph. So make sure you indent the first line of every paragraph. All right, the next point, moving on, regards like how much space between the lines. All right, I'm recommending that you double space the lines of writing, okay, and leave a margin of 1 inch or 2.54 centimeters on each side. So if you look here, okay, that is 2.54 centimeters, that is 2.54 centimeters, and this is double spaced. You have 2.0 between the spaces. I'm okay with that being 1.5 if you want to save a little paper or save a little space. I'm okay with 1.5 or 2. All right, but make sure there is an appropriate amount of space between the lines, okay? Also, the margins are generally default 2.54 centimeters, so I don't think you'll have to make any changes. All right, make sure you follow the next point, because this one generally bothers me, all right, if it's not done. It's annoying to me, all right? I don't know why, it just is. But make sure you left justify, or if you want, straight left, rough right, okay? For a lot of the default Korean programs, you'll see straight, straight. That is not acceptable. If you do that, I will minus you points, all right? So straight left, rough right. Okay, make sure it is formatted correctly. The easiest way to do that, obviously, would be to highlight all of your writing and use this icon. Straight left, rough right. Okay? So left justify. Also, this is a multi-page writing. It'll probably be 3 or 4 pages, depending on how long you write. 750 to 1,000 words, okay? The word count is more important than the pages, but with this formatting, you can expect it to be about 3 or 4 pages, right? And you must follow that guideline, or if you want full marks. But make sure you do include page numbers. But those page numbers begin on the second page. So this is, for example, a first page. Okay, page numbers are going to come in the top right corner, all right? But they begin on page 2, not on page 1. And when you include your page numbers, starting on page 2, make sure you also include your family name and the page number. And the writing up at the top right corner, not the bottom right, not the bottom center, top right corner, should be Times New Roman, font size 12 to 14, just like the body of your essay. Okay, so basically make sure every bit of written word, character, or figure, ABC or number, is Times New Roman, same font size, between 12 and 14. Okay, I think that's basically all I need to cover for the basic formatting, all right? But a couple reminders here, strong reminders. If you have not been paying attention to what I've been saying every week and including in the notes, you better pay attention now. Use the appropriate academic language. If you don't know what that means, go back to week 1, study those notes, listen to the lecture. It is all explained. In this essay, there should not be any contractions. If you see a word squished together, 2 words squished together as one with an apostrophe, like don't, that should be changed to do not. Can't should be changed to cannot, which is one word actually. Make sure there are no contractions. All right. Also, as I've mentioned various times, avoid the personal pronoun I. Okay. This is not a personal essay. This is an academic essay. Use appropriate language. Now again, there are some instances where you can use I, but in general, it is much better advice just to avoid using the personal pronoun I. Make sure you're using the third person. So if you want a pronoun, use one, okay? When one studies this subject, one will find that jump, 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 okay? Also, another problem some of you are using is using the second person, you or we. All right, sometimes that for Koreans really enjoy using the uri, we. We should not be using the second person. This is not conversational. It's not between you and I or us. Okay, so use the third person. Okay. Okay. Some other aspects here. If you're including the book title or the title of a larger text, for example, if you are introducing a quotation, use italics for the title of a larger text. Okay. And if you're introducing a shorter text, right, the title of an article, a newspaper article, you would use quotation marks around that title. Okay. But don't use italics and quotation marks together. That's not necessary. And when you quote, all right, you don't need to use italics. You use quotation marks unless it's a larger quotation, and then it's blocked. Okay. I've given examples in the notes here. But for example, if you want to introduce a quote from an article in a larger book, let's say you choose an article or a chapter from a large textbook, the textbook's name would be in italics. The chapter title would be in quotation marks, or the article in that book, the smaller writing, would be in quotation marks. Okay, larger text, italics, smaller text titles, quotation marks. Also, this might be an issue for some of you. If you're using a word from a different language, but using it in English, and it's a non-standard word, you should also put that in italics. All right, I've given an example here. All right, but also just a quick note. If it's a word that's non-standard in English, within the writing, you should probably explain it. Make sure that it's clearly defined because it's not a standard English word. Okay, so that is definitely good advice as well. When it comes to using quotation marks, again, go back and look at the article I gave you on using quotations and make sure you are doing all of that correctly, because that is where essay writing and academic writing can get messy. So just as a note, remember, you have to introduce your quote with the proper context and understanding for the reader, and you need to explain how to understand your quotation, and you also have to integrate grammatically that quote into your sentence. Do not just drop quotation marks in there. That will be penalized as well. I spent a lot of time emphasizing that. Make sure you paid attention to that as well. So go back. This is where I recommend that you really look through your notes, especially for using quotations, to make sure you do that correctly as well. All right. Other than that, remember that your final draft is due next Wednesday. So you have one more week to try and polish your rough draft and make it as close to perfect as you can possibly make it. And of course, make sure that there is no plagiarized material in your works. I will not accept any plagiarized writing. So make sure you do, if you're borrowing other people's words exactly, use quotation marks and tell me where it's from. Okay, I recommend MLA or APA style. Doesn't really matter as long as you let me know where it's from. Also, remember, you don't have to use direct quotation. You can paraphrase and you can summarize, but make sure any ideas, not just words, but ideas that you borrow are also included in your citations. I need to know where this is coming from, and you need to give the proper credit to the people who had those ideas or did that writing. So don't overuse quotation marks either. All right, be careful about that. Also included in the notes here are some special notes on how to submit your final draft a week from today. I think it's Wednesday, December 1st. The term essay is due. So make sure you email that to me as a Microsoft Word file only. I will not accept Hangul, only Microsoft Word. Make sure your name and student number and the class academic writing is in the subject line of the email. Also, for the actual Microsoft Word file that includes your essay, make sure that file is named with your name, your student number, and the title term essay. Okay, you have to follow those directions clearly because I'm a very busy man these days, and if it's a problem for me to organize these, it means it's a problem for you too. So follow these directions carefully to be more successful and to make my job a little bit easier, please. All right, so one more week to polish these essays and then submit them next Wednesday. And do remember, after that, we also have the final exam, which is another shorter essay, but you can get that information next week. All right, focus on this and good luck to you. And as always, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. All right, take care, everybody. Stay warm.